Let's get down to it here. I've got a couple things I think are going on right now. Let me say this first. There's a cost issue at the heart of all of this. You know, the problem I have with piracy are not people that use piracy as a demo system or use piracy as a try and buy, right? So I have less of a problem with that for some reason. I don't know why, but the problem that I have with piracy are the people that have the resources, right? They have the means and they have the systems and they bought the systems and they bought the PC, and for no reason other than they just want things for free, they just pirate games. And they stack them up on their hard drive and they just play them all, and they keep going for a while. I think though that's a very small niche of the territory when it comes to piracy. So I'm going to make a claim here. I think the effects of piracy are, first of all, nuanced and many. But I'll say this. I think it's also possible that there is a certain amount of piracy that's actually affecting PC gaming in a good way.
You really believe that stuff, don't you, Commodore?
Yes. Yes, I do. I do, Jordy. Why? Anyway, sorry. Jordy does that every once in a while. Listen, but I think it actually could do good things for PC gaming. And why I say that is because I think it can be used as kind of a demo system. It can be used as a way of spreading the word. I know many people, ended up pirating a game going, oh my God, this game really is as good as everybody was saying it was. You guys need to go get it. Now, it doesn't mean everybody goes out and pirates it. It just means people go out and get it. And those are sales, like Notch says. Somebody posted a quote from Notch. It might have been Male White Mage. I'm not sure. Anyway, the point is, pointed out the quote from Notch, which I agree with 100%. That's potential revenue that now becomes actual realized revenue. And I think it's very important for us to see that. So, my issue with piracy is more the people that spend nothing, that just don't want to spend anything on anything, and that's why they pirate. I have a big problem with that. That does take away from our industry. That is what creates a lot of the crap that we see at E3. A lot of us complained about the stuff we saw at E3 because it was the same old crap. That's because companies aren't willing to make that choice and make that leap. So, keep that in mind as we move forward. Second thing is a lot of us have come up in a culture of piracy. I'm not saying that makes it all right, but because we've been raised in a culture of piracy, number one, we see a lot less wrong with it, but we also see it as a viable way to get to a real game. So, have I seen games pirated before? Have I come into contact with that stuff? Sure. But I'll tell you this. There have been games that I've seen that have been pirated that I've gone and purchased full price. I tend to wait on games, down the line anyway. I tend to buy my games new, but I tend to buy them after they've been on the market for a while. And I tend to see them after they've, been on the market, been tested, and everyone said their piece about them, so I can give my own impressions on them. So it doesn't affect me nearly as much. If you're somebody that has to have a game right now and you want to play it, then buy it. And if you can't buy it, then I can understand making the motion to piracy. Again, not condoning it. It's still wrong. It's still illegal, and you shouldn't do it. But does that always necessarily lead to no purchase? No, I think it absolutely leads to purchases time and time again. And I think that's why it could be a good thing. And I want to echo the sentiments of the Beer Ninja and say that I think generally people do the right thing. In other words, the people that are actually doing what I just said are very small. It's few. It's a small section of the population that just want to spend nothing no matter what, right? There's a reason why, okay, that in video gaming it's a little bit, in software it's a little different. You're dealing with geek culture. That means that there are more people that have access and capability to do it. You just do. Video gaming is full of geeks that know computers and know all of the different mechanisms that go into this. So they're going to be a little bit more capable of doing that. So because we're in video gaming and because we're in software, you have a higher geek quotient that's able to go and do that. So maybe the niche is bigger than it is in music or it is in other things. But I have to say this. I agree with the premise that piracy is easier now than it's ever been before. But it's still not to the point where every Joe Schmo is going to go do it. It still requires a certain amount of effort. A lot of people see torrenting as illegal activity. Remember, guys, torrenting is a completely legal form of downloading, right? Let's say I go download, for example, I use XBMC, right? Which is fantastic, by the way. The latest version of XBMC and the latest builds are out there every single night, and they're on torrent. And you can go torrent them right now. That's completely legal to go download. Just because somebody is torrenting something doesn't make it illegal. Torrenting, many of us would think of as the easy way to get something because we've been through all the hard ways. But someone that's not a geek and someone that comes to looking at a torrent, they're going to look at this and go, I don't want to deal with this, right? I'm going to go buy this. Or they're going to say, I'm going to go get somebody who's my geek friend to go do it, and I'm going to pay them to do it. That's the worst situation of all, right? Those of you making money off of that stuff, for shame. You guys are the real copyright thieves. That is bad news. When you're making a profit off it, it's no longer that the game companies are not making money. It's that you're making money off the game companies not making money, and that is unbelievable. So, to sum up, here are my thoughts. How is PC gaming affecting... how is piracy... I forgot my causality backwards there. How is piracy affecting PC gaming in the year 2011? I think it's a mixed bag. It hurts it because obviously there are plenty of people out there that are pirating games that will never ever buy it, and that is hurting potential revenue. It's also hurting it because it's making game companies think they have to make it's blockbuster or bust. It's the new version of Call of Duty or it's no innovation at all, right? That's a bad thing. Take that into consideration with all the bevy of things I came from the community. I think that's a bad thing. But there's also positives with piracy. And we've seen a lot of positive business models arise from trying to avoid it, right? DLC, all those other great things we talked about. So if I'm looking at it, and I'm going to be obvious, I'm going to say it's a mixed bag. If I had to pick one way or another, I'm probably going to say that I would say piracy still does more detriment to the community than it does a net positive. But I'm not one of these people that's willing to sit back and say piracy is bad, okay? Or piracy, we should just accept it, and piracy should be the way we all get our games. No, I'm not going to sit on either ends of those spectrums. Piracy is wrong. It is against the law, but I can see how piracy that other people do can engage the video game companies to do better work, to do better things, and that's where I'm going to sit on that one. Okay, fair enough. I think that's fairly diplomatic. I didn't have to hurt anybody's feelings with that one, but it is legitimately how I feel. I think it's a mixed bag. It's positive and it's negative. All right, that leads us to the point of our program where now I get to ask you a question for next week. Now, I was thinking about this for a while. I started watching some movies and just kind of on in the background. And I started thinking about this. How many great sci-fi movies are there out there? There are a tremendous number. And go watch our 10 best sci-fi movies of all time podcast, Echo Screen, to go find out what our top 10 are. But thought about this as well. Yeah, there's a lot of awesome. I think about my phone and how cool it is that it's kind of like a tricorder and all this other kind of stuff. Now I can do all these advanced functions that really, people could have only dreamed of 25 years ago, 20 years ago. And so I started thinking to myself, wouldn't I like to have some of those gadgets that from some of those movies? So here is the weekly ringer for next week that I want you guys to think about. If you could have one gadget from any of your favorite sci-fi movies, what would that one gadget be? What would it be? And then tell me why and what you do with it, right? This could go a lot of ways, guys, but let's stick with those sci-fi movies, the kind of futuristic stuff, or it doesn't even have to necessarily be futuristic. If you could have one gadget from your favorite sci-fi movie of all time, what would it be and why? Okay? So there we have it. That is the weekly ringer for this week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for making your contributions. And I greatly appreciate the community that we've got out there. You guys do a tremendous job, and you keep me up here blabbering about. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf on the Weekly Ringer, and there is no reset button.